Really, recently, I met with two freshmen from Washington University who wonder if they belong here, if they made a mistake coming here. Freshmen make real for all of us the question we all ask periodically: where do I belong? Too many of us read the Bible as if it were about us. But really, the Bible is all about God. In this gospel, Jesus portrays a God who leaves the 99 to go in search of the one who was lost. This story portrays an image of the mystery out of which everything has come to be. The story portrays an image of God. God is one who will go to any lengths to have the flock together. This is not a God who punishes, who condemns, and who shames the one who gets lost, but rather a God who will make every effort to bring you and me back into the fold, back into community. A God who will forgive any insult to be one with us. A God who says, above all else, you belong with me. You belong to me. You belong here. The Catholic Student Center at Washington University in St. Louis is a community that is meant to foster and call forward divine belonging. That is the message of this gospel. And as I look at our lives these days, it is a much needed message. God goes after the one left out who didn't feel like he or she belonged. We are all like that sometimes. On any given day, that could be any of us. We all have known at some point or another, we all have known that isolation and that disconnection. We've all wondered if we matter to anybody, if anybody cares. You and I, we need to remind each other, and we need to remember ourselves that we belong here, that they belong here, wherever, whenever here is, that we belong here. And there will always be parts of ourselves that will try to tell us that we don't belong. It will take us doing this out loud, it seems to me, out loud, if we're ever going to get it. And to say it with conviction, and to finally believe it. And to repudiate that lie that we do not belong, that lie. We need to hear it out loud every once in a while. And so now, as I remember certain situations we find ourselves in as we move through a day, for all of us, perhaps what I suggest could be responded to is a space we've all been in at one time or another and are now. I ask you to say the words after I make a statement, hoping to create that space we've all been in. After I make a statement, I ask you to respond the words, you belong here. And I ask you to say it loud enough for the people around you to hear your voice, because you are saying it to them. And they are saying it to you. They're saying it to you as well. And so I ask you to also say it out loud enough that you can hear your own voice saying it because you're also saying it to your own self. And so I ask you to respond to each of these statements with the words, "You belong here." If you are so sad this morning, you can hardly keep from crying because you lost a person or might be losing a person very dear to you, and you are missing them already. You belong here. If you are frightened to death of life and its insecurities and worried about your future, and you don't have it all figured out yet, and it seems like everybody else does, you belong here. If someone has just recently hurt you, betrayed you, disappointed you, left you, you belong here. If your faith is wearing thin and you're not really sure you believe all this, or maybe any of this, if you're struggling to believe in God, and especially a God who cares about you, or even if there is one, or if you haven't been here for a while, or if you're not Catholic, or you're not even sure you want to be Catholic anymore, you belong here. If you carry some shame about who you are or what you are from your past, something you did that was awful, even in your own eyes, and you hate yourself because of it, you belong here. If you grew up on the other side of the tracks, and it seems like everybody around you comes from money, and you can't even go out for a pizza with your friends, you belong here. If you can't participate in this community the way you would like to because you're just too busy these days, if you want to help but just can't right now because there's no time, you belong here. If you are confused about your own sexuality, where you fall on the spectrum or just about any spectrum, if you wonder with some fear especially, you belong here. If you're lonely today, you're going home to an empty house and an empty schedule from Mass this morning, and if you're finding it difficult to connect right now, what to talk about when you're with someone new or old, it's awkward, you don't know what to say, you don't know the questions to ask, you don't know what to say after you ask the question about how you're doing, and you just feel so awkward while you're standing there, and maybe even just plain old depressed, and you just want to be alone. You belong here. If your sights were set on that one guy or that one girl, and you pondered for a long time about asking him or her out, or somehow suggesting that you care and want to pursue a relationship, and you've been in that pondering for a long time now, and you just find out that he or she is not interested, and you're in that funk. You belong here. And finally, if you flunked that test and feel like you are the dumbest kid in the classroom, and you just want to crawl in a hole and not have to talk to anybody or tell anybody anything about this most recent failure or any failure, you belong here. My friends, the truth is, too many don't come out of their rooms when they need it the most, when they feel the weakest and most vulnerable. Too many stay home because they feel unloved and unlovable on any given day. Jesus will have none of that. Jesus will have none of that. That is the one day you should be here, wherever here is for you, where people are, where community is happening. It's the one day you should be here, just so that you can hear Jesus say to you and the people who are gathered around you today, I would leave all the rest to come for you. You are welcome. You belong here because you belong to me. And if you cannot believe me, then believe your experience of us. And if you cannot believe us, then believe the Word of God. And if you cannot believe the Word of God, then believe that small, tiny voice inside of you that made you come here this morning, even if it was your wife. My friends, it is time, at times like this, it's just a barely audible whisper, really, that will not go away despite the roarings to the contrary. A tiny, barely audible whisper, just whispering, you belong here. You belong here. You belong.